True Health Forever podcast, where we empower your physical, social, spiritual, and economic health. Consume this content every week with positive energy and good intentions. Join me, Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, and my starlit queen, Sinclair, the health nerd, and share this with those you love. You are strong, you are beautiful, and you are ready to live your best life. You sing the words that you believe were written. Okay.
Mama.
Yes, you go ahead and.
Mama, you know I love you so.
Oh goodness. So
Hold the Kathleen.
Yeah. Well, real quick before we get into this show, first off, of course, happy Mother's Day.
Oh yeah.
All right, happy Mother's Day. Go ahead. Yes. Happy Mother's Day, all the mothers out there, all the grandmothers out there, caregivers, right? Jair did a beautiful prayer before this, talking about just everyone who stepped into that role. And first off, if y'all ever get the chance to hear these Jair prayers, they will fill up your cup, right? I don't know why we don't record those.
One day we should do one where we started.
Yeah, because the prayers are very beautiful. And yeah, so long story short, shout out to Jair for the prayers, and shout out to all the moms out there.
The TH4 chaplain.
Yeah, the chaplain for sure. Number 2, first key to success, and we're gonna start off swinging with this podcast, right? So it's Mother's Day, we gotta give out gifts out there. First key to success, right? If you're chasing wealth, if you're chasing your goals, the first thing I need you to do is avoid all brunches with mimosas. I think that's the first key. I think you would literally triple your productivity if you no longer consume all you can drink mimosas. Yeah, I don't know how many days I've lost from
whole days,
because especially when it's all you can drink, right?
Yeah, that's dangerous.
The day's done.
It's done.
You're going home.
Clear the calendar.
You're sleeping, and you're gonna wake up hungry.
Yep,
and then the day's done. All right. Long story short, we're just coming back from a Mother's Day brunch. I had a nice little nap on the way back. It was beautiful.
You know, I had to wake him up off the couch like, we gotta go. We gotta go do the podcast.
It was one of those where you're like, you're asleep, but you hear everything, but you still feel well rested afterwards.
Hey, that's good.
It was a good one. But Queen,
yes,
before we get into the show today, you got a did you know, you got a nugget, you got a little gem for our mothers and for our listeners out there.
I do. And it's a good one. I think it's a good one. Anyways, the health nerd thinks it's a great one. Mm-hmm. So let me let you know. Did you know that simply by changing the order that you eat your food on your plate, you can not only lose weight, but improve your overall metabolism and metabolic health? Mm-hmm. And the reason is that when you're eating, especially carbohydrates, it does happen with proteins and fats to a much lesser degree, but especially when you're eating carbohydrates, your body breaks that down into glucose, sugar, and that enters your bloodstream. It spikes your blood sugar. And what we want to avoid is really high spikes in your blood sugar that are followed by really low valleys, right? So you get that like hyper energy, you feel really energized, but then you crash afterwards. Probably what's happening to us right now. But what you want to do is you want to flatten those curves so that you don't have as much up and down. And instead, you kind of have little mild hills and valleys in your blood sugar. And one of the most effective ways to flatten those glucose spikes is to eat your veggies first. So any type of, it's a salad, that can be broccoli, that can be grilled veggies, that can be cauliflower, that can be artichoke, but eat your veggies first, then followed by your proteins and fats, and save your carbohydrates that are going to quickly turn into glucose and spike your blood sugar last. And simply by changing the order, you can significantly, by 78%, decrease the amount of spike that you see in your blood sugar. And not only is this going to lead to sustained energy from that meal, but it's also going to, again, help you manage your weight better. It can help you lose weight. It can help, it lessens the degree of other metabolic kind of cascading things that happen in the body after you see a lot of increases and spikes in the body. So eat your veggies first. That's why, if you look at like a full course meal, you typically have your salad first. There's a reason for that. So have a nice salad or veggies first, followed by your proteins and fats, and finish with your carbohydrates. You're going to feel a difference. I've even measured myself and measured my blood sugar after. I do see a difference. So I'm excited to see what long-term benefits come from that. But give it a try. Very simple way to not even change what you eat, but just change the order you're eating. Can make a very big difference.
Yes, ma'am. Well done. Thank you for did you know there was a day where you were pricking yourself like 5, 6, 7 times, just checking blood sugar, and you were so excited.
I know. I feel like he's always concerned when he sees me pricking, but it's like I'm in my nerddom at that time. I'm just like, okay, let me see what I love to see what different lifestyle factors can affect your blood sugar. So I'll test it before and after I meditate and see, does that change? After I eat certain things, right? Meals with high carbohydrates, meals with low carbohydrates, meals with high protein. I love just to see for my specific body, how does my body react to that? It's very, very telling. And it's just me getting data points and learning about myself and how my body operates. So I love it.
So I think you said this was going to be easy connection. I
didn't say that.
You didn't say that. Okay.
I said that last week.
I wanted to last week was beautiful. Last week was an amazing alley-oop. I was like, oh yes, it connects.
Yeah, no, this week I was just excited to share the fact. So
yeah,
good luck.
It was a good fact. I'm gonna try to piece it in for y'all, right? Because we're talking about wealth today, and we know that health is wealth, and I think there's a lot of connections that we can make between how your body metabolizes food, macronutrients, and micronutrients, and how your personal economy metabolizes money. Right. And I think that salad, those greens, that's your financial literacy. That's your foundation. So
get
that first on your pathway to building wealth. You need to consume the financial literacy first. You need to know your own personal budget, your own kind of way that you spend money, your relationship with money, and how money works. Right. That's the foundation. Your protein, that's what we're going to talk about today. Those are your 4 ways to actually build the wealth, right? So we're going to talk about real estate. We're going to talk about entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about intellectual property on ways that you can build out your economic muscle, right? Build out your wealth. And then lastly, those carbs, that's your spending habits.
I was just about to say that, right? If you spend first, you're going to see highs and lows, money, lots of money.
Literally. Literally, if you learn how to spend money first, even if you get $1 million, $2 million, you'll see that spike and then a huge crash because you didn't start with the green. You didn't start with financial literacy, and you don't have that consistent muscle of money coming in. So that's what we're going to talk about today, y'all. I should start a podcast. Literally. But we're going to talk about the 4 pathways of building wealth, right? So again, entrepreneurship, real estate, investing in the stock market, and last but not least, intellectual property. Take some good notes. We're gonna try to keep this one a little bit shorter, but if you have questions, you have follow-ups, we're the M4 podcast, Melanated Married Millionaires in the making. We're gonna be talking about wealth for the next 100 episodes. So drop some comments, make sure y'all like and subscribe. And Queen, are you ready to get into the show?
I am ready.
Boom. Without further ado, let's get into it. All right, we're out. This week we got to get that intro done.
We will.
This week. Oh, Jair, let's get it. I got the scripts written and everything. We just got to record it. All right. But 4 pathways of wealth, and when we're talking about wealth in this sense, Sinclair, we're talking about monetary wealth.
Yes.
Okay. We understand that holistic wealth, right? Your relationships, your spirit, how you feel about yourself, your self-esteem, all that beautiful. We'll have other episodes to talk about that. But today we talking about the bag. Okay. Today we talking about the bag. Throw it in the air and then I pick it up.
Hey.
Throw it in the air and then I pick it up.
Hey. Okay. Break it up.
Hey, wake it up. Hey. Oh, this is us. Literally, she made up a song about Target earlier today.
Okay, y'all want to hear it? Okay, here we go.
I'm so sorry.
Target. Oh, I forgot it.
We got clothes small and large A, something like large A was how you
It
brought it
was
in. That's all.
Target. Everything you need, all sizes, small and large. Y'all, come on.
Rock with me. Oh my goodness. All right. So, but get back to it. Today we're talking about securing the bag, wealth in 4 areas. My favorite area is entrepreneurship, right? And I did a little bit of a workshop on this with some scholars earlier. And according to Fidelity, which is a financial advisory or financial institution, they said that 88%, Sinclair, 88% of self-made millionaires. You want to finish it? I said most of it.
Go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. 88% of self-made millionaires are entrepreneurs in America, right? So if you're thinking about, what are you laughing at? Go ahead.
I was just thinking about, like, before you kept going with it, when you said like 80, I was like, I could have finished the fact, but you were already too far into it. So it wouldn't have been very fruitful for me to just be like, our entrepreneurs.
Hey, get your shots up. Get your shots up. But 88% of self-made millionaires are entrepreneurs. So if you are trying to build wealth within your family, having that side hustle, having that business should be in your repertoire, right? And if you're just like, you know what, business is not for me, like I just don't like running my own business, that's fine. We got 3 other pathways for you. It's not for everybody, but it is for 88% of self-made millionaires, all I'm gonna say.
But you could be part of the 12%. You can.
Right. So Queen, any follow-up questions or comments on just entrepreneurship as a pathway to wealth for your family?
What do you consider entrepreneurship? Like, if you had to come up with a definition, what does entrepreneurship look like? Like, if I do bake sales once a month, am I an entrepreneur? Like, what degree do you become an entrepreneur, or is it like is it just a hobby? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I feel like entrepreneurs are folks that solve problems and create their own opportunities. Because I think you can own a franchise like a McDonald's. I don't know if I would call that an entrepreneur. I feel like I would call that a small business owner.
A business owner.
Yeah. So you're a business owner for sure.
That's a good question. Like, wow, what's the difference between a business owner and an entrepreneur?
Right. Like you can own a UPS store, a Best Buy, or all that stuff. I don't know if I would consider that an entrepreneur because you didn't create that own opportunity from scratch. Not to say that anyone is better than the other, right? But even within McDonald's, within Best Buy, you don't control, and I don't even know if Best Buy is franchisable. Don't quote me on that. But you don't own the complete supply chain. And technically there's limits because you're selling other people's stuff, other people's opportunities, right? With that bake sale, you're limited to your own resources, but you own that brand, that intellectual property, though the ovens that you're cooking it with, and it's like the sky's the limit.
So basically, almost starting your own business is, I'm trying to like put it as simply as possible. Would that be kind of a general way to describe it? It's starting your own business that is solving a particular problem.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Yeah, I want Devon Truvel's, description.
Received. All right. So if you're a family out there, go ahead and solve your own problems. Start from scratch. Whether it's a family brand, there's tons of families out there. What's your dude's name?
Belief.
Yes.
Well, his name's Glenn, but Belief in Fatherhood.
Let's go with Belief.
Yes, Belief in Fatherhood. So I think if you think about the problem he was trying to solve, it's like the representation of fathers, in particular black fathers, excuse me. So even he talks about a lot in his YouTube. Wow, I cannot speak today.
The mimosas be hitting y'all.
His YouTube channel talks about like his relationship with his father and how he wanted to kind of improve that, but also improve that for himself, but also his kids, and for them to be able to see a very positive black father figure. So he started a YouTube channel called Belief in Fatherhood. I absolutely adore their whole family. I just Uzi's my favorite. He's the youngest. He's just so cute and adorable. But anyways, he literally from the first child has been YouTubing and vlogging their entire parenting experience, and it solves the problem. Like people like me, people like us who are preparing to have kids, especially Black kids, right? We want to have, they have 4 kids, we want to have 5. So it's very nice to be able to get into the inner workings and see the inner workings. He's very transparent about all of the issues that they go through and talks through, like, this is how I handled it. I'm not saying this is the right way. This is how I did it. This is my reasoning behind it. And so it's very interesting, and you get to see how it plays out. So you can see, like, okay, I like how they did that, or I would have did that a little bit differently, but it's just very interesting to see how he had a problem himself, and he created his channel and started in his garage. And now he, as of this last month, they have their first office that they're able to rent. It's a full floor. It's amazing.
Congrats.
And, you know, he's working full time to support the family. So it's amazing to see how, like, literally anything that you're passionate about, any problem that you have, can become the way that you build wealth for your family.
Right. And two quick things on that. One, it's literally a family business. Like, the Glenn does a lot of the, like, the editing and kind of like the narration side and the music. His wife is in those videos, and they have a couples podcast for married couples. All the kids are in a lot of the videos, and they'll do like product reviews and stuff like that. So it's literally a family-owned business and brand that they were able to build. And there's tons of other YouTube and Instagram families out there that are doing it like that as well. So that's just one particular pathway. Again, we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship and building businesses out throughout this entire podcast or next 100 episodes. So if starting a business is something you want to learn more about for your family, keep tapping in with us, right? Second quick thing that I want to talk about real quick is the queen said, we want 5 kids. So that's the first time she said the we in the 5 kids. It's usually been like, he wants 5 kids. I don't know. I'm going to go. But I just want to, this was on air,
on the
podcast, on the record. Jair heard it. Everyone else heard it.
Literally the other day I was talking
5 children. Thank you very much.
I was talking to one of my sources.
Thank you for tuning into the M4 podcast.
Don't do me like that. Anyways, one, before we move on to number 2, I wanted a question that I'll ask for each one of them. But what do you think is, like, the biggest obstacle or the biggest pitfall that folks can fall into for entrepreneurship?
Great question. Biggest obstacle and I think biggest pitfall is not getting started. I think there's tons of people who have brilliant ideas, right? And it doesn't have to be a brilliant idea. Some people have, like, a very simple idea and they never do it. They never execute on that idea. And then, 10 years go by, 20 years go by, you'll start seeing infomercials for that idea. And you'll be like, I had that idea back in 1987. And then you're just like, hey, you should have executed it on it, right? That was a great idea. So number one pitfall I say is people not actually following through on that idea. Now, once you get started, you get rolling. I think the number 2 barrier for families, and I think it was a barrier for us as well, is not knowing how to use your resources as efficiently as possible, right? You have limited money. If you're a parent, you're a family, you have limited time, limited space, and it can feel like you need the world in order to get started, in order to grow. But I really feel like, just like we've slowly grown the podcast, slowly grown the board game, everything has been a nice slow process because of the limited resources we've had. And I think sometimes we know we have limited resources, but we want quick results as if we have infinite resources. So I would say it's a two-edged sword. One is the limited resources, and also the limited patience in the results. So take your time with it.
And I think it's also interesting because I feel like when you come up with your head of how long you think something is going to take, in reality, double that. Like, I just feel like, and I feel like that's part of the struggle, is like, you start and you're like, okay, in 3 months, I mean, like me, right, as a health coach, in 3 months, I'm about to have 5 clients. And it just doesn't happen like that. And it actually takes way longer. And then you get discouraged, and then you're like, all right, I guess I'm not supposed to do this. And it's like, that's not it at all. It's just that it's going to take longer. The timeline in your head is arbitrary, right? You don't have anything. If this is your first time doing it, you don't really have anything to base it off of. You're just thinking, okay, I think I can do this, but it's arbitrary, right? When you actually put it into practice, you see how much work it actually takes to acquire a client, or to get somebody to buy a board game, or, to get a contract. And then I think you have a little bit of a better idea of how long it's going to take moving forward. But I think patience is that has been probably one of the biggest lessons that I've learned from the entrepreneurship journey.
Gotta be patient. I think that's why we came up with that phrase, see us in 10 years.
To
remind us, okay, at least at least 10 years. And when you look at a Eric Thomas, even when you look at a Glenn, and when you look at
Yeah.
a Beyonce, like when you look at all these people who are great and they have achieved great things, they've been rocking for a while.
Yeah.
Right? Like even like the belief, like when you go back in the timeline, that man's been doing this for like 10, 12,
Wow.
15
And
years
just got his first
and
office.
just started popping.
Right.
Right. He started off with music. He didn't even start off with the whole vlogging stuff because he didn't have a family yet. Right.
Right.
So yeah, stick with it, y'all. Right.
Yep.
So number one, entrepreneurship. Go ahead, start solving problems. How can you and your family create something as a beautiful family or as an individual if you're not in that family yet? Okay. Number two, do you have one you want to go next? Any particular order?
I can jump into real estate. That's when I feel confident to talk about stocks and investing. That's not my bag. But real estate, I've always been an advocate for real estate. I think even before like we got married and we were a unit and we were going into real estate, I know when I was kind of getting into my first full-time job and gonna make my first move to my own apartment, I was like, I want to buy. Like, why would I not buy? And I did start I didn't go too far with it, but I was like, I did get pre-qualified to see how much I could get qualified for because yeah, real estate has always made sense to me as an investment strategy because it's always going to be around. It has always been around and it is always going to be around. It is something that I think is like, yes, there are ups and downs, but there's always a market for real estate. And I think I don't know where I heard this first. I'd be like, everybody says it nowadays, but you're in the real estate market one way or another. If you are a living human being on earth, you are in the real estate market. So whether you are buying or renting, you are in the market. You just have to decide what side of the investment you want to be on. Are you the one providing the investment to whoever owns the property, or are you the one who's going to be able to pocket that investment? So yes, real estate investment I think is a fantastic real estate or a fantastic wealth building strategy because it is probably one of the easiest that can be passed on to future generations.
If you do it correctly, yes.
If you do it correctly, can be passed on to future generations. And you know, without a doubt, now, if you're looking at short term, you can't guarantee anything, any type of increase in value. But long term, it's going to increase in value. You just have to be patient with it. You know, so I think the best strategy with real estate is to buy and hold for, you know, as long as possible so that you can, again, pass it on to future generations. Unfortunately, I think that where some folks go wrong, and unfortunately, especially in our communities, is they see when the market's going well, they see the potential, right? They see those dollar bills and they cash out and they get that money. And a lot of times it does not make it very far. It may not even take it to the next generation, right? A lot of times it gets spent up and the next generations has to start back from zero. I think that that's something that, you know, mindset I think that is starting to change. I know we're starting to change for our families. Is like we want to hold on to it so that we can make sure that our kids, our grandkids, our great grandkids can benefit from these real estate, you know, investments that we're making today.
Oh yeah. So I wanted to rewind very slightly and give props to some folks, right? So entrepreneurship, real estate, Sinclair's bag. Entrepreneurship is my bag. And I think I got my motivation to be an entrepreneur and I got my kind of like firsthand experience seeing what entrepreneurship looks like, the grind of it, the rewards of it, the freedom of it from my mom growing up. Right. So my mom, she was a reseller. She would sell kind of like some luxury stuff and some fashion brand stuff on eBay. Saturday mornings, Sunday mornings, we're in yard sales, we're in thrift stores looking for True Religion back in the day when it was a good company. 7 Jeans, Gucci, just like anything that was nice, designer, luxury, and then we would resell it. That was also my first job and first job I got fired from. Another podcast.
Cold.
Right? Another podcast, Mom. I see how you did me. But growing up, that was a example of entrepreneurship that I saw. Switching over to real estate, I had a very similar experience with real estate because I grew up sometimes living with Grandy. She would take me to a real estate office. She was a real estate broker, real estate agent, being able to see homes, being able to hear her talk about real estate. And even to this day, she talks to us a lot about real estate. And one of the things that she said was, I wish I would have kept all of my homes.
Yeah.
And she, at some point, like she had like 6 homes that she had. And she said she sold all of them, right? Whenever she had the chance to get some money, she would sell it and then get another house. And then she would, you know, get some equity, sell it, get another house and then market. But she was like, I wish I would have kept them all because I would have had a bigger net worth and our bigger portfolio. And that's the lesson that I want to give to you all. Like, y'all are doing it right. Hold the property. Right. Don't sell grandma's house.
Don't sell. Can we get that on a shirt? A hashtag?
Don't sell
grandma's house.
And I'm not going to claim that because I've heard that somewhere else. Right. But I think that's very true.
Yes.
Don't sell grandma's house. Right. Whether it's in Inglewood, it's in Chicago, it's in New York, it's in Oakland. Don't sell grandma's house, because you see the ups and downs that we go through in the market, the waves of gentrification. Hold that house. Kids can stay there during college.
Right.
You can have holidays there. The equity will go up. You can now leverage that house to buy your other houses, but still holding on to it. Don't sell grandma's house.
And you mentioned a key word there, gentrification. And I think that is an interesting part of the equation, because it's going to happen regardless, right? It happens. It's a natural part, I think, of the economy.
Yep.
And so again, we need to make sure we are on the right side of it. And what I mean by right side of it is, if we, the people who are in the communities, who are a part of the community, stay in the community, right, we can now be the ones who are building the community and having it, increase in value without trying to push everybody out, right? Because that's the bad part, that negative connotation to the word gentrification that exists now, is that other outsiders, right, are coming into a certain neighborhood that is growing in value, and basically kicking out those who are local to that neighborhood so that others can come into the space, right? And it's a very unfortunate. But if we are able, the ones who are in the communities are able to hold on to the value, we can not only be the ones to benefit from the investments that are making and the increase in value, but we can make sure that we are having fair practices and we are not kicking out those local community members. So I think it's very important that as things are, if you have a property that is increasing in value, that it's for a reason, right? It's probably an up and coming area. Hold on to it. There are other creative ways like HELOCs to where you can get access to capital without actually selling the property, but hold on to it, right? And if it's, sometimes it's pressure from the older generations who want that money. Again, we can get creative of getting some renters in there and have that money go to the folks who own the home, have it go to grandma, right? So that they get that monthly income, they can do whatever they want with that. But yeah, I just think it's so important for us to start to change the paradigm of selling the house as soon as it gets some value. Got to start to hold on to it and look for the delayed gratification. And that's delayed. Like, it could be delayed to the next generation, but I feel like we got to be willing to make that sacrifice when it's feasible.
So I want to talk about, and you can talk about this, but the different ways to invest in real estate. Right. The different types of properties that people have the opportunity to purchase.
Right. So, I mean, there's the way of, you can buy multiple single family homes and you get folks in those homes and renting, and you get that income. That's one way to do it. Another way is to invest in multifamily properties. So this is where you have a 2 to 4 units is considered a multifamily. So you can get a building with 2 apartments in it. You rent out both. You can't even live in one. This is a real estate hack that a lot of real estate investors start out and are able to kind of catapult their portfolio, is to live in one and have the other pay the mortgage for both units. So you're basically living rent free.
Shout out to the Walkers who did that. They're coming on the podcast eventually. They'll talk about their experience.
Yep. And you can do that from, again, a 2 unit all the way up to a 4 unit. Once you get past the 4 unit, you're into commercial properties. So that's 5 and above. And that will typically take a little bit more money up front. But again, so if you get in the right market, and if you're in California, you got to have some real dough to be able to do this. But if you're looking at places like Chicago, places like Detroit, places where the money goes a little bit farther, those are great places to do commercial type properties where, again, you're putting like 20% down. You can go in as a group, right? You should do real estate investments as a company, as an LLC, right? Get together with some folks, put your money together, go in on a commercial property, and that can be great mailbox money, as we call it. Mailbucks. Well, that's a good mailbucks, right? Get your mailbucks, bucks in the mail. Yeah, you can get thousands of dollars in every single month for doing absolutely nothing. That's what I love about real estate, is it's all upfront work, right? You're doing a lot of the grunt work up front in terms of finding the property, fixing it up if it needs it, renovating, refinancing. But after that, I mean, aside from, especially because if you get a property manager, you're hands off. You just get money every single month, and it's really just about managing the finances and the maintenance and stuff like that. But yeah, you really have the option of managing the property yourself. You find the renters, you collect the rent, you fix any issues that the tenants are having, or you can outsource that to a property manager who typically will take 10% of the monthly rent, but they do everything for you. So they collect the rent, they find your tenants, they deal with pretty much everything. So that's the route we're gonna go for our properties.
Pray for us.
Yes, yes. There are other ways to invest in real estate that I'm not too privy on. We'll probably bring somebody on who's familiar with that. But there are like they're called REITs, real estate investment trusts. I think that's what it's called. REIT. That's one way to get into it. Wholesaling is another way. I'm not even going to try to explain what that is. No. I just know that it's a way. So Google wholesaling. But those are some ways you can get into real estate investing without actually buying a property. Right. There are ways to invest in real estate without physically owning a property. But yeah, those are some of the ways that you can get into real estate.
Well done, Queen.
Thank you.
So if y'all want to learn more specifically about real estate, let us know, whether it's the wholesaling, whether it's the commercial real estate, and we can bring some folks on that we can learn from, but of course that y'all can learn from as well. So let us know what questions you got about real estate. Moving on, let's go with stocks and investing. Yes. So I put stocks/investing because there's so many different things that you can invest in today. So one, there's the general stock market, right? For those that don't know, if you're a public trading company like a Apple, like a Pepsi, like a Coca-Cola, they have stocks where you can buy into it and now you own a piece of that company. Some companies give you kind of like profit shares and dividends to where as they make money, you also make money equivalent to how much you own. Other ones, you just own the stock, and I'm holding a piece of paper because back in the day, there used to actually be pieces of paper that you would buy, right? But as the stock value goes up, as that company values goes up, then you own a share of that company and your value also goes up, right?
I hope this doesn't derail the conversation so much, but I find it very interesting, and I know that you're a history person, the history of stocks. What was the original stock?
So I don't even want to go into that rabbit hole because I'm gonna go into it, and then Jair's gonna be like, Devon, you said it was gonna be a short episode, and I'm gonna be like, it was, but then the Queen asked a history question.
my bad. Okay, another episode.
Yes, I literally have an entire course that I taught on the history of the stock market. So if you go to imifoundation.com, you can literally enroll in that course for the history of the stock market and learn that full story for like $7.99. That was an accidental plug, but I actually go to that course, imifoundation.com. But so there's stocks, and you can invest in individual stocks into an individual company. You can invest in ETFs or mutual funds or index funds, which basically means that they take similar companies, similar stocks, and they put them into one portfolio. So you can own like biotechnology, and you'll own like one mutual fund or one index stock, but it'll be like 30 different companies, right? Or the S&P 500, which is the 500 biggest, largest market cap companies in America, right? So you own one index fund or 10 shares of an index fund in that, and then you own 500 different companies, right? So that's a really good way to go. Most retirement accounts, 401ks, IRAs or IRAs, independent retirement accounts, they're in those type of index funds.
So like when I worked my corporate job, I had Fidelity and a 401k. Most likely
you were in
Pepsi was taking that money and doing a
index
fund. Thank you.
Yes, or ETF. Now, I think Pepsi, which some companies do this and it's a good thing, some companies do this and I think it's really just self-supporting, but they'll take some of your retirement money and they'll buy Pepsi stock with it, right? And then as Pepsi stock goes up, yes, your value goes up and it helps them, but if Pepsi stock goes down, yours goes down. So that's
like, sorry.
Right. So I think sometimes it's good, like for the people who start their own startups like Facebook, and you'll get a job at Facebook and they'll offer you, stock options or whatever. So boom, here's some stock because we're a startup company. For a lot of those people, it worked out really, really well. For others, not so well. But long story short, we're gonna bring someone on specifically talk about stocks. I want Star to come back. because in her episode, we didn't even get to stocks.
No, we did
We
not.
just talked about SOPs.
Yeah.
But she's an amazing stock investor, and she teaches folks how to get to the bag. So we will bring her back, talk to y'all about stocks. The other side of investing, which is going crazy in the last 10 years, is cryptocurrency. Right. So we've had a beautiful blessing in being able to invest in certain cryptos as well. Cryptocurrency, not going to fall into that rabbit hole of
We need an episode
what it
on that.
is. Definitely an episode on cryptocurrency and NFTs, but it's another way to invest in a coin or a digital asset. And then just like the value of the stock market, right? If a certain company's value goes up, or if a certain value of a coin goes up and you own those coins, then the value of your coins that you own also goes up. So we were able to make some money from Bitcoin.
Look, I'm not the person who is into like researching all of this stuff because I know he is. So I'm just like, as long as one of us is, cool. I co-sign whatever you do. I trust. Do what you need to do. Buy what you need to buy. I trust you. Get us the bag. But I do understand that in the grand scheme, I think we are looking at a very big shift in how money is used and viewed in the world right now. And if you are not in crypto, I feel like you are either going to be a beneficiary of this time, or you're going to be late to the game and wish that you had. Because I feel like it's only inevitable that this is going to become the primary way that we're dealing with money.
We're moving into a literal digital age.
Right. So I feel like I think a healthy level of skepticism was okay like last year. But I feel like at this point, you need to be in this game. Otherwise, you are losing out on this opportunity to really, again, build this wealth. You don't want to have to tell your kids the story of like, oh man, and then the digital age of crypto came around, and
old person voice.
I don't know, because this will be later. Who knows what we're gonna sound like when we're 80. But I wish I had got in, but shut up.
Your voice just sounds like you were a smoker for 70 years. Just, oh yeah, I wish I would have.
Anyways, get in the game. Even if it's just dibble dabble, right? I'm not saying bet your whole life's fortune, but put like $200 on and see what happens. But get in the game. You got to get in the game. Don't wait until it's too late to what. Once it's normalized in society and you feel comfortable with it, I feel like at that point you've probably lost the opportunity to really get the most bang out of your buck. So I understand the level of skepticism. I know that there's a lot of people that think that this is like a phase that's going to pass, but I feel like we're seeing and hearing more about. I literally just read about Gavin Newsom, governor of California, passing something that's going to. I feel like long story short, they're going to look into how to make it more integrated into society. So once the government and things start getting involved, it's about to be like this is about to be cemented. So you need to get in the game.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. And you can get into crypto very easily. So, and stocks. There's an app called Robinhood, right? And this is not a sponsored post of Robinhood, but literally you go on Robinhood, you can start investing in stocks. You can get fractional shares, which means if a share of Apple costs, I don't know what it costs right now, $2,000, $1,200. You don't need $1,200 to buy that share. You can buy it a tenth. You can $2, $10, $100, and now you own a fraction of a share of Apple. You keep on investing $100 a month, and then eventually by the end of the year, you now have a full stock, right? So definitely do some research. But on Robinhood, you can also buy some cryptocurrencies as well. So if you want to just kind of dip your toe in, see how it works, do your research. We are not professionals, right? But I'd say you want to get in the stock market somehow, some way. The best, most comfortable way to do it is the long-term investing in index funds, right? Open up a Vanguard account and just every month, just like a savings account, $200, $100 for the next 10, 20, 30 years. This is the calculations I do with my students. So if you open up a Vanguard account and you start investing into the S&P 500 and you invest $300 a month, right? You invest $300 a month for 12 months, right? It's a year times 10 years, right? You would have $36,000 in cash. But how much do you think would actually be the worth of that portfolio, assuming an 8% market return for the next 30 years or 10 years?
Like I've seen this enough, so I know it's like It's over $100,000.
Yes, right. It's 30 years, right? It is $150,000. If you've only put in $36,000 in cash, so you've been rewarded $114,000 in interest. That's 3 times what you put in. The market gave to you because you invested over time, right? So as you invest over time, you get a beautiful, magical, mystical thing called compound interest. Oh, I thought we were on the same page. I thought we were there. I thought we were moving and shaking.
I was like, I don't know if this is a pause for dramatic effect or am I supposed to be answering this because I ain't got it.
Look, so but long-term investment. So for parents, this is something that I really want to do for our kids as soon as they're born. Open up an account for them, an investment account for them, and just invest whatever you're able to for 30 years. By the time they turn 30, give that account to them. And if it's $150, if it's $50,000, if it's $500,000,
it's money.
It's money. Imagine if you, as a 30-year-old, you knew you had $200,000 waiting for you as soon as you turn 30 to buy your house, to start a business, to buy land,
pay off student loans, whatever you want to do with it.
Loans, to travel for a year. Like, imagine if you had that. I want to gift that to our kids. I want to gift them those possibilities. Queen.
Possibilities.
I thought we were having a moment. She's Olive Garden can always has to find its way into our conversations. But I'm trying to look up this crypto thing for Gavin Newsom because I'm interested. What's the next topic, Queen?
It is intellectual property. Fourth and final investment strategy.
Yeah, okay.
Is intellectual property, IP.
California governor signed executive orders shaping cryptocurrency regulation in the state. Oh, yeah, I'm going to read this. Ooh, let's see.
You're welcome.
To create transparent and consistent business environment for companies operating in blockchain that balances the benefits and risks to consumers. Oh, yeah, I'm about to read that in a second. Nerd time. Intellectual property. All right, fourth and last one. Now, there are 3 types of intellectual property. Go ahead, Queen.
Copyright.
Copyright, which is everything that you create, right? You can give someone else the right to copy it, right? So you write a book, you create a podcast, you make music, you make a board game. We have a copyright to the board game and we have a trademark as well. You made a board game, right? You can copyright it, right? There's common law copyright, which means I created it. So by common law, you cannot copy my work because it's plagiarism, but you can take it a step further and actually get a physical copyright for it. Recommend it personally. And then now you can sell that copyright or license that copyright to other people so that every time they want to sell the board game or they want to listen to a song, they want to show your movie in the AMC, they need to pay you for that license, right? So number 1 is copyright. Number 2,
you mentioned it, trademark.
Trademark is basically the source of goods, right? So I think most like major brands are trademarked, right? So when you think of a Nike, Gucci, Apple, McDonald's, all those are trademarked to let you know when you get a pair of shoes that have the Nike swoosh on it, you know where they came from. You know they're Nikes, you know they're authentic. When you get a Gucci belt and it has those G's on it, right? You know that that's real Gucci. You know when it's not real Gucci because it might not have the exact same G, right? So boom, trademark is letting the customers know this is my product. It's from this trusted source. I
was just gonna say, I feel like the purpose of that is so that they know that they can expect the same high quality everywhere around the world.
Exactly.
I think about McDonald's, there are thousands, right? If not millions around the world. So you want to know that McDonald's in Germany is the same. You're going to get the same quality of Big Mac as McDonald's in Inglewood.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And so one of my favorite movies is American Gangster. And there's a scene in there with Denzel where he's talking to one of the other drug dealers. Forgot what the other Cuban Gooding Jr. I think. Cuban Gooding Jr. had like taken Denzel's product and he was using Denzel's brand name. Right. And Denzel was like, Blue Magic. That's a brand name. I stand by it. I protect it. I trust it. That is my name. Customers know what to get when they get this Blue Magic. And if they get this, you're stepping on my name. Right. So it's literally, he was saying like, Blue Magic is a trademark, right? It is a brand, and customers know exactly what they're going to get from Blue Magic, from Nike, from McDonald's. And that's why you cannot take that trademark and then try to sell your own product and it's not the same. That's trademark infringement now. Okay. Third one.
Patent.
Third one is a patent. And I explain a patent as kind of like a recipe. Right?
It's like a dibs.
Huh?
Like a dibs.
Explain that.
Like, when you're kids and you're like, I call dibs on something. Like, I mean, it could be like the front seat of a car, but it could also be like, I feel like when you're young, you might do it on your crush. You did that on me. You call dibs on something like, I want that. I had it first. It was my idea first, type of thing. I feel like that's basically the adult legal version of what a patent is.
Cute story. I disagree. Very cute story. Yes, I did call dibs on you. Got her. But I feel like the reason why it's not quite dibs is because kind of dibs, but you need to actually design it. So you need to, this example would be, okay, I call dibs, but I call dibs because this is the exact future that I see with this woman, right? We're going to have 5 kids. We're going to live in this house. We're going to laugh every single day, like build out this entire life. And it's like, this is the recipe for the life that I have for this woman. I call dibs, right? So you can't just be like, I'm going to design that, but you have no plan for it. You need to actually have a specific plan, and it needs to have a unique use case to it as well. Right. So that's why I like to call it more like a recipe, right? Because your grandma, your mom, they throw down. They got a recipe. They got a very specific way that they make their chicken, their waffles, their salad, their butter rolls, right? Whatever it is, they got their very specific way that they do it. They write it down. Well, they don't write it down, but if they did write it down, right, they would have that recipe, and then they can sell this recipe, or AKA patent, a specific way of making something. They can then sell this to a Betty Crocker. They can sell this to a Apple. They can sell this to a Harmless Harvest. And now that company has the license to make it the way that grandma made it, right? So that's what a patent is, right? So maybe you don't necessarily want to be an entrepreneur. You don't want to have your own business. You don't want to worry about doing the branding and all that stuff, but you're a brilliant mind and you can figure out how to put stuff together. Make a patent and then license that patent to other people, and you can just sit back, relax, collect the checks.
What do you call? I've been missing my question. We're gonna go back and ask the same question about the obstacles. But what do you call someone, or if we have time, what do you call someone who does that like full time?
An inventor,
I guess. But what do you think is the biggest obstacle or pitfall with investing in or having intellectual property be a way to build wealth?
Yeah. I think it's 2 things. I think it's 1, the legal paperwork it takes specifically for a patent. I think it does take a level of education, just access to be able to know how to legitimately file a patent. Copyright's relatively easy. Trademark has been a little difficult. So I feel like that biggest hurdle is the legalities and bureaucracies, which I'm sure is on purpose behind getting those intellectual properties. Number 2 thing is, I think specifically for a patent, you need to find and actually get connected with someone who can use that patent and add value.
Oh, okay.
Right.
And actually make it seem useful.
Exactly. So you have this brilliant idea. I want to do headphones that are disconnected from the phone and you can listen to music and make calls, walk around, and you don't need to be connected to the music.
Wires.
No wires, right? Which was an idea that me, Ryan, and Javon had in 2014, way before AirPods ever came out. We had the drawings, we had everything done. And what we should have done is we should have filed a patent. We should have literally filed a patent, but we didn't know about intellectual property back then, right? But we could have gotten that idea, but it's like, okay, who do you sell that to? Do you sell it to Apple? Do you sell it to Google? Do you sell it to Sony? Like, who do you sell it to? I think that's the gap that we're also missing. We have a lot of great ideas, but we don't necessarily know how to pitch them sometimes, or how to even get into that boardroom to pitch them, right? So yeah, that would be my 2.
Okay. And then backtracking a little bit, and then we can wrap up. But what do you think is the biggest pitfall or obstacle for stocks and investing?
Same thing with entrepreneurship, is not getting started. And I think specifically for me, right? I think we want to, or I want to pick the stocks that are going to hit,
Mm.
right? Like I want to pick the stocks that are at 12 cents today, but are going to be at $20 tomorrow or in a year, right? I want to hit big. I'm going to Vegas. I'm rolling. I'm investing in these stocks. I want to hit big. That's not investing, right? That is very sophisticated gambling, right? And I think I used to see the stock market just like that. So I feel like if you see the stock market more as a long-term investment, as a high yielding savings account instead of a like I'm investing, I think you would do it more because we have savings accounts.
Right.
Well, we have savings accounts, and hopefully you have savings accounts too. But I think we're used to the mechanism of, oh yeah, let me save $20 a month, right? We have families that have the jars of coins and pennies and dollars. Like we're used to saving, but I think there's a disconnect between saving and actually putting in an investment where you don't have access to it.
Right.
That's the difference. We want the liquid access, right? So I would say, get started. You're investing long term. You're investing for 20 years from now, 30 years from now, whether it's for you or for your kids. But yeah, I would say it's going to be hard to pick a winner. You're going to get a few winners, but it's hard to really pick winners. But it's relatively easy to pick a winning market. The S&P 500 historically is a winning market. The NASDAQ, which is technology companies, is a winning market historically. There's going to be dips and valleys like '08. We may hit another one, very soon. But when you look at 100 years, 200 years, is up. Right. So yeah.
And then lastly, I can talk about the real estate one. Kind of the biggest obstacle.
What do you think the biggest obstacle or biggest barrier is for investing in real estate?
I think for most people out there and most families, it is the upfront capital that is needed for it. And I think it's rightfully so, but also a little bit of a misconception about how much is needed, and about the programs out there that are available for folks who don't have that big capital. But I feel like a lot of people just think like, oh, I need 20% and I don't have it, so I can't invest in real estate. When again, like going in together with a group, kind of crowdfunding a property is one way around that. So you don't need the full 20% yourself. Also, you don't always need 20% because there's things like the FHA. A lot of real estate investors start out using an FHA loan where they do the hack of living in one and renting out the other properties. So a lot of people start out. So take advantage of like FHA. There's a lot of no down payment like NACA. And there's a lot of down payment assistance programs out there available that you can take advantage of. So don't just think I don't have $100,000 in the bank, so I can't invest in real estate. There are ways around that, like typical 20% that I think a lot of people see as a barrier. So I think that it's more of a mental block than it is a physical barrier for the average person. But I think that that's probably it. To your point, it is not getting started in the first place because they think that they need to have $1 million in the bank to be able to start in the first place. And that's, I think that's a misconception.
Yep. Well done. So get to the bag, y'all. We just gave y'all 4 pathways to wealth. We got entrepreneurship, we got intellectual property, investing in the stock market, and last but not least, real estate. Right. A real quick ask declare as we wrap up. Jair, I try to get us out of here soon. I don't know what happened. Time. But as I asked declare, do you think folks should pick 1 lane, 2 lanes, 3 lanes, 4 lanes, right? When they're thinking about building wealth for their families, how many lanes should they be in?
I think that it depends. I think that's the best way to answer it.
Okay.
I don't think you need to be in all 4. But being in more than 1 is probably a good idea. And again, you also don't need to be more than 1 to start off, right? Start with 1. Start with whatever feels like you feel the least resistance towards, right? So if you feel like, oh, okay, like I know a little bit about real estate investing, I have an uncle or I have a friend or whoever is doing that can teach me about it or find a mentor, then go that route. Or if you already own a home and you're looking to actually get into it as an investment strategy, that's probably good because you're already familiar with the process of buying a home. If you're already dibble dabbling in stocks, like, or if you, that's an easy way to do it, like an app. Like there's a very low barrier of entry to like investing in the stock market. So find whichever one you feel like, okay, I could do that, and start there. Do that for a little bit of time, get comfortable with that, and then start looking at what other strategies you want to go to. But I do think that it's wise to have more than one investment strategy because of what we talked about earlier. There are things that happens in markets, in economies, that you can't really predict. So I think the best way to make yourself recession proof is to have a diverse investment portfolio, right?
Yeah.
So if you're only investing in real estate, that's great. What happens if the housing market crashes? You need to make sure that you can still maintain your lifestyle. The likelihood of every single, investment strategy that you have flopping is low, because there's always going to be something that's still popping out there. So I do think that it is wise to be in more than one investment strategy, but I don't think you have to be in all. I think pick your uh pick the one that you resonate with the most, pick the one that you can see yourself doing. I mean, if you have a partner, maybe you split up the kind of the task. And then I'm typically the real estate person. I do all the researching. I get really deep into the researching. I like doing that type of stuff. And he's like the entrepreneurship, intellectual property. I'm getting into entrepreneurship, obviously, because I have my own, we have our own business. But I learned everything pretty much from him. So
Nice.
definitely, you can divide and conquer as a family, as a partnership. But yeah, long story short, start with one, with the goal of being in at least two of these four pathways to wealth.
Yeah, agreed. Well, let me see. I have a slightly different one.
Okay.
I do somewhat agree. I think you should. I like to divide and conquer
Mhm.
better. I think personally, if you have a family, one person should be a master, be a very focused person on one, and then the other person take another one, and that way your household is diversifying.
Mhm.
I also feel like you should probably be in all of them, but you should have one that's a actual intentional strategy to building wealth that you're like actively doing,
Okay.
right? Like, because I think you should probably own your house.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that owning your house, like you're in real estate,
Mhm.
but it doesn't mean that you're using real estate to build wealth, right? Because I think just owning one single family home, you're not necessarily actively building that wealth.
But you kind of are, 'cause you, like we talked about, it's going to increase in value. So
It
you are
is.
built. It may not be on a as grand of a scale as if an investment property, but you are still building that wealth. It is still something you can pass on. Um, yeah.
It is, but in my opinion, you're not actively building wealth by just investing in one single family home
Mhm.
that you live in,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. Okay.
So, in my opinion, right, again, I'm a young buck in these streets, but I think you can be in all four lanes. But if you real estate is your bag, you own your home, you're doing investment property, you have vacation property, boom, cool. Real estate is your lane.
Mhm.
Maybe you have a independent real retirement account, but that doesn't mean that you're necessarily using stocks again to build your
Yeah.
wealth.
Okay.
You just happen
I
to
get
have
you.
a 401k,
Yeah.
right? So you're going to be in all four, most likely in some way, form, or fashion. But each person choose one to be a master in, to be very intentional in, and I'm going to build wealth for my family through entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
That's what Devon's going to do. Right? Devon's going to start businesses. Devon's going to build brands, and Devon's going to leverage our amazing talents all within the family. Right? Even when the kids come, listen, they're going to be some amazing, talented, beautiful little things, and we're going to make sure that those talents are feeding into the brands because we're using entrepreneurship to build wealth for our family. Sinclair is building wealth for our family through real estate. She's on calls, she's making spreadsheets, she's doing pitches, and she's doing all types of numbers and calculations, all dope stuff to make sure that our family is building passive income 30 years from now.
Mhm.
Right. So, what are y'all doing? Right. We challenge you this week to pick one of the four paths to really dive in. Maybe read a book on one of those four paths, go to a conference,
Podcast.
listen to a podcast, aka M4, come tap in, right? But which one of those four are you really going to dive into and take on the responsibility, take on the honor of building wealth for your family in one of those four pathways?
Last thing on this is one thing to keep in mind too when you're thinking about and trying to evaluate maybe which of the four you start with is thinking about how active versus passive some of them are. Right. So you think about entrepreneurship is a little bit more of an active, well, it's 100% active, right? You sure you can do like a side hustle, but if you're trying to create wealth, that's going to be a very active task of figuring out what business you're going to do. Like it's very a heavy load work to start a business and become an entrepreneur versus like stock investments. That's pretty passive, right? You can do it can be and it can be very passive to where you just have an app and you just decide how much money you put in and do it that way. You can also be very active with it. Obviously people do that as their full-time job every day, you know, and trading and things like that. Real estate, again, same thing. You can kind of decide how active you want to be in it. You can become a real estate investor and be the one actively fixing and flipping homes, or you can kind of do like what we're doing and we work with a team. We are actually going to end up going to Chicago to see our property, but before we were perfectly fine with doing this real estate investing, you know, working with a team that we know and trust in Chicago that's going to do the work for us, right? And they're paid to do that, but it's very passive on our end in terms of like they're finding the properties for us. We're evaluating you know, them, and we're just in communication, but we're trying to make it a passive kind of form of income to where when you ask us what either of us do, neither of us say we're real estate investors, even though that's something that we're doing in the background. So that can be, again, more of a passive thing depending on how you want to do it. And then the intellectual property, again, I assume you can kind of do it either way, but it seems maybe a little bit more of an active thing than like stocks or real estate.
Yeah, I think so. I think it is active.
So keep that in mind when you're deciding what level of time and energy you have to devote, because you can do it regardless. All you need is money to invest. But I think that just thinking about how much time and energy you have to actually put towards these things is something you need to consider too. If you only have if you're already kind of, you know, at your wits end in terms of time energy, then starting a business is probably not the thing you want to do. But you can, you know, go on Robinhood or something like that and start an account. That's something very feasible you can do. So just keep that in mind.
Beautiful. So we're going to do some updates. Again, make sure you like and subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, we appreciate you. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, all those good things, give us a like and subscribe to the M4 show. We're going to keep talking to y'all about wealth for at least the next 100 episodes. Queen, updates for the week.
My updates for the week are that I am going to be opening up enrollment for my 90-day weight loss formula. So that is a 3-month program where we're going to take a look at your metabolic and hormone health and develop a very individualized program that's going to be, you know, we're going to talk about stress, we're going to talk about sleep, we're going to get a very individualized meal plan and movement plan, and have you losing up to 30 pounds in 90 days. And it's not a crazy regimen where you're only drink water for none of that, right? Where we are building health. And so you are going to, you know, heal from the inside. You're going to heal your intestines. You're going to, you know, gain that energy. I always like to say this, you're going to feel so good. You're going to go back to that closet, whop, pull out your freakum dress. You know that one. You know that dress. You got to whop. What?
We know that dress.
We know that dress, and you're gonna feel very good to put that on again and, you know, feel confident. So yes, go to queen.com, schedule your free discovery call, and that's just where we talk about the program, talk about your goals, how I can help you meet those goals, and make sure that the program is right for you, you're right for the program. Schedule your free discovery call. If you're not ready to invest in a program, we also have a free weight loss accountability group. If you already kind of know what you need to be doing and you just need a community to help you stick to your consistency and stick to your goals, we also have a free weight loss accountability group where we touch base with each other multiple times throughout the week. Talk about what is your long-term goal, what are you going to do this week to get you to that long-term goal, and we're going to follow up with you in a couple of days and make sure you actually did what you said you're going to do. So we have a group of ladies, they're dropping pounds, and we're seeing a lot of success within this group, and it is 100% free. So also on the Queen, the number 2 Queen, coaching.com, you can sign up for the free weight loss accountability group.
Let's go. Good job of finally putting that link on the Queen to Queen website. We see you. Love it. Let's go. On the flip side of that, of course, we have Black Wall Street, the board game. If you don't have the family fun board game about the history of Tulsa Black Wall Street, go to playblackwallstreet.com and get yourself a board game. I also want to talk a little bit about Launch It. Right. So every Friday, 7 a.m., we're meeting with entrepreneurs to help them build out their business, including the Queen right here is one of our shining stars within the community. So if you want to start a brand or a business for your family or for you, use your talents, use your gifts, and be able to put that into a purpose-driven company, go ahead and Launch It. You can go to launchitcommunity.com, sign up for the free accountability calls, as well as grab your book today. All right. So, Queen.
King.
Queen.
King.
Quick, Queen.
King.
We appreciate y'all for tapping into the show. We are on the tail end of the rebrand. So hopefully within the next 2 weeks, you're going to be able to have a full M4 experience. M4 standing for Melanated Married Millionaires in the making, because that's what we are. And we hope that's what you are as well. Thanks for tapping in. My name is Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game.
My name is Sinclair, a.k.a. Theee, health nerd.
And we will catch you next time. Peace out, y'all. Oh, love the outro. Love the outro.
Where is it?
That was a pretty good one.
Banners?
No, you gotta go bam. Gotta teach her the technology.
Yep.
And bam.
Thank you for tuning in to the True Health Forever podcast. We hope you learned something valuable that you can take and implement into your life. Now, we've all heard that sharing is caring, and this podcast is no exception. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend, a family member, a coworker, a stranger walking down the street, anybody who you think can level up from this message. As always, we appreciate your support, and we'll talk to you next week. Be well.